Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, and this is a special focus today. I thank you all for joining me. What I've been doing for the past couple months, 2.5 months or so here, is I've been having what I call a special focus Monday, where we take a one-day break from the workbook for students in the course, which of course is still waiting for us. Oh yeah, yeah, the workbook never goes anywhere. The practice never goes anywhere. And we've been taking a break each Monday to focus on an element of life from the lens of A Course in Miracles, from the lens of universal spirituality. And we've looked at some various subjects. We've looked at diverse subjects on past Mondays. Now, I invite you to go back and, if you're interested in seeing some of these, go back and check out the past episodes on Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel. The show is called A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love, and there is an entire playlist for this show and every other show on the network. So as you may know, there is some really wonderful programming here on Enlightened World Network. I invite you to check that out. I call these special focuses. So the special focus of today is in line with the live stream that we did on Saturday, and the subject is forgiveness. And if you'd like to go back and check out the last live stream from Saturday, 2 days ago here, we covered on that live stream lesson 121 in the workbook, and we spent some time talking about forgiveness as it's presented for study and practice in A Course in Miracles. It's very important to grasp this, not just in terms of an intellectual understanding, but also, and really more importantly, applying it in our daily lives. So it's one thing to understand an idea intellectually, and it doesn't do you much good, does it, if you understand something, but you don't practice it, you don't apply it. The course is a self-study curriculum. It is specifically designed so that we can take these ideas and put them into practice. So I invite and encourage you to do just that. Now, we looked at forgiveness being the key to happiness. So let's back up. If you're just joining me for the first time on this live stream, first of all, welcome. I'm happy to have you. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we are going to revisit this idea a lot. It's entirely by design. Forgiveness comes up in the workbook, it comes up in the text, it comes up in the manual for teachers, it comes up in this thought system again and again and again. It is, in fact, our key to happiness. So what is it? How is it different? And how is the course's presentation of forgiveness different from the way the world views it? Well, let's go over that here today. There's a lot of material that is available on this subject. A simple Google search of ACIM, A Course in Miracles, and forgiveness will yield a lot. It will yield passages from the course itself. It will yield lectures and videos, all kinds of supplemental writings and material about this very subject. Why is it so important? Well, it's the key to happiness. I mean, there we go, right? We could end the live stream right there, but I won't do that. Nah. The way the world sees forgiveness is very different than the way the Course looks at it. And that's important for us to understand. I mentioned just a minute ago that it's important to get some idea of what we're talking about here. So when we think about forgiveness commonly in the world, we don't have to look very far to see that a lot of people forgive incompletely. And maybe you do too. Maybe you have in the past. What I mean by that is forgiving and keeping a grudge intact. It's not real forgiveness, is it? This happens so often. It happens in every arena of life. One jumps right away, often to a family setting where a parent or a sibling might forgive you, but, right, that's the operative word, but if you ever do it again, I'll cancel your birthday. I will punish you. I will hate you forever. Whatever form of language, it's usually a little bit more profane than that, isn't it? But people supposedly forgive and they leave a grudge entirely intact. Therefore, if you do it again, you'll incur their wrath. It's very common, isn't it? It's very common. So what happens to the person that continues to hold the grudge? Well, they continue to spin around and emotionally eat themselves. It's painful and exhausting, isn't it, to hold a grudge? I know that you've held one at some point in the past. Yeah, we all have. It's draining, isn't it? It's draining. It's emotionally exhausting, and it requires a lot of energy and effort to keep this intact. It's not necessary that we keep these grudges intact. We could simply let them go. How do we do that? Forgiveness. It literally lightens us. It lightens a psychological burden that we place upon the mind. We heap this on ourselves. And I'm not being dramatic in saying that. It is absolutely the case. We all do this. It is a common thread in humanity. It's also a common universal thread that we need to forgive. It's painful to hold a grudge. It's painful to have a grudge held against you, because if you're the one that's supposedly forgiven, then it is easy, isn't it, to feel inferior. It's easy to feel less than, like someone else is extending you their sovereign grace by forgiving you. But if you ever do it again, I'll cancel your birthday. I don't know, I'm fond of that language for the moment. It's kind of funny. In other words, there'll be consequences if you do it again. Yeah, not what we want. So one person often feels superior, the other person inferior. It's very dualistic, isn't it? There's a high-low. One person's up here, the other's down here. Yeah, it's completely of the ego. In other words, why? Because it still maintains a separation. Real forgiveness eliminates that separation. So the Course views it in a very fundamentally different way. This is why A Course in Miracles is able to say with 100% truth and accuracy that forgiveness is the key to happiness. It's able to say this because it views it very differently. And we took a look just a minute ago at the way the world views it. A Course in Miracles views human behavior either as an extension of love or a call for love. That's a really important distinction, isn't it? Either we're extending love in our thought and deed, speech, or we're issuing a call for love. So what does this mean? It means any separation behavior, any fear-based, ego-based, ego-identified behavior, such as lashing out at somebody, maintaining a grudge, holding a grudge, stewing in our minds about how to get revenge against somebody for something they've supposedly done to us, anything like that. It maintains the separation. Forgiveness overlooks the separation, and it sees any egregious behavior as a call for love. It's like a cry for help, and it is. truly. It's like a small child misbehaving just to get attention, and it doesn't appear to matter to them whether the attention is a hug or a pat on the back, or whether it's a tirade, whether it's a scolding. They get attention, and we are fond of saying in the world, okay, that's a cry for help. Well, it is. It's a call for love. It's the same thing. And as adults, it's exactly the same as though we were 2 or 3-year-old toddlers. And frankly, we behave that way a lot, don't we? And bottom line, let's be honest with ourselves, because that's what this whole course is about. It's about being honest with yourself, 100% radically honest. So yes, I invite and encourage that. Oh yeah, you know I do. So should you. Forgiveness overlooks the error. Which error? Error of separation. It is the only error, is our sense of having been cut off from our source. And that's it. Forgiveness overlooks that. What happens when you forgive? Well, you, the forgiver, are lightened tremendously. So too is the person you're forgiving. And here's the point here that's really interesting. It doesn't matter if they know you've forgiven them or not. It doesn't make any difference if they know. You never have to tell somebody that you forgive them for what they have done. It doesn't make any difference if they know. So nobody is going to make you email them. No one is going to make you send them a text message. No one is going to make you pick up the telephone and call them and have a conversation with them. This can be done in the heart, in the mind, without the other person's even being aware of it. There's no separation of any kind at all. Therefore, when you lighten yourself, you also lighten them. We're all each other's mirrors. When we lighten ourselves, we lighten everyone else. They see us lightening, they'll see themselves. We see ourselves in them. It's a two-way street, yeah? There's no separation of any kind. Therefore, forgiving one person is lightening yourself and them. Also, by extension, it's forgiving all people. Remember, there's no separation of any kind. Now, the Course makes another important point here. Forgiveness is also an illusion. Like all of our psychodrama here in the world, like the grudges that we hold in the first place that need to be forgiven. It's an illusion, but with one very important distinction. It leads away from error rather than perpetuates it. Leads us to the truth. And therefore, it is fundamentally different. We say that it's an illusion. The Course says it. Course in Miracles says that. We say that because it's still in the realm of perception. It's a remedy where we need it, because we need something to do, because we're still seeing ourselves as separate, as cut off from each other, as separate people, separate entities. We need something that operates on this realm to eradicate that difference, and forgiveness is that. It's an illusion in the end, because ultimately we are one, and there's nothing to forgive. However, right here in the world, where we need these remedies the most, this is very effective. It's very powerful. And if you've ever truly, actually and authentically forgiven someone, you will know from your own experience the power of this. Now, people frequently tell me, hey, I have this situation, this person in my life whom I cannot forgive. They have done many, many abusive things to me. And if that's the case, all right, that's the case. I mean, we've all been abused in our lives. Some of us considerably more than others. And it may be that you're in this situation right now where you have a person or people, in more than one, whom you're not able to forgive right now for whatever they have done. So what I invite you to do is start with what you can forgive. You can forgive yourself, perhaps, for oversleeping your alarm. Yeah. You can forgive yourself for spilling coffee on your pants this morning and having to change. Yeah. You can forgive, we can all forgive some things. And what we do in spiritual practice is start where we are. It's all about accepting, okay, this is my situation right now. If I have to create healthy boundaries, I have to create healthy boundaries. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. In my own life, I had a very abusive alcoholic mother who was rampant. Let's call it that. Rampant psychological abuse, massive tirades, all kinds of guilt trips. I mean, not pretty, not pretty. And it was an effort that took several years for me to be able to fully and totally forgive her. And it was absolutely with the help of this course that I was able to do that. Now, that was tremendously psychologically empowering and lightening for me. Oh, yeah, talk about relieving a burden. Now, I did this with very firm, very healthy boundaries intact, and I kept those intact so that the behavior did not continue. Otherwise, it would have continued. So if you have to set healthy boundaries, do it. Please, by all means. And you may or may not have a situation where there are some very troublesome people or groups of people in your life for whom you find this difficult. And let's all understand and give ourselves some grace here, because this really is truly a process. Nobody's expecting you to be able to do this right away overnight. Now, if you can, fabulous, fabulous. You'll experience a whole different world. But if that's not something that you're able to do right now, the beauty of this practice is we can start where we are and go from there. We make progress. This is a journey. And it's a very helpful tool. So as we go forward this week in the workbook for students, we'll jump back in at lesson 122 tomorrow, which of course follows up on lesson 121, forgiveness is the key to happiness, and takes it from there. So we'll spend a few days on it, and we'll return to this theme over and over again. There's a reason why it's central to A Course in Miracles and this thought system. And really, it's central to spirituality in general. It really is. So no matter what tradition you follow, it's worth taking a look at the practice of forgiveness and seeing it in a slightly different light, maybe a radically different light. Yeah. It's totally worthwhile. So let's see who's joining us today. And thank you all for tuning in recently. We've had a number of wonderful discussions and comments here. So if you have questions or comments about this topic or forgiveness in general, A Course in Miracles in general, even spirituality in general, feel welcome to leave that right here. And this is a live stream that occurs 6 days a week. I typically take off on a Sunday, and today's Monday here in North America. So I will be back tomorrow. If you're catching me on the replay, feel welcome to leave questions, comments, say hello here, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you so much.